Well, hello, South Valley Community Church. I know it appears as if I'm in some nice office space, but I'm actually in a bunker, 1,000 feet beneath the surface. I brought myself and my loved ones and a video crew with me in order to record these messages. I also have 1,000 pounds of beef jerky just in case this goes a little too long. Well, we can't cut that, right? Okay, so that stays in there. None of that was true. But hey, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to update you on a number of things that we're doing. So we realize this in-shelter thing is going to be at least for a couple weeks. We'll see a few more weeks. But there's a lot of talk about how long it will last. So as a church, we want it to be as connected as possible. So within the next 24 hours, on the main page of SVCCchurch.com, we're going to be posting a schedule. And what we'd like to do is this. We don't want to just have our Sunday morning services be our only connect point. So right now we're working and in the process of developing live worship streams, daily devotionals, Bible reading times where we could just do a daily Bible reading plan together, possibly some other things. But there'll be a number of these components being unveiled shortly. And so go to svccchurch.com for the schedule and look for that within the next 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. We're just trying to map everything out with the schedule so it all makes sense. So we're doing our best to obey all the in-shelter rules, and so we're taking our precautions and making sure we're doing the social distancing. We're going to be able to record from individual houses, so you might see a live stream from this worship leader's house one day, and then from another day you might get a live stream from a different worship leader's house. But it's not like we're coming together and breaking any of the rules. We're doing our best to obey those, to love our neighbors, and hopefully, as the buzzword is, flatten the curve. So with all of that said, again, go to svccchurch.com to get a schedule, and that should be posted within the next 24 hours. Secondly, I just wanted to give an encouraging word to everyone. In the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, Paul the Apostle is writing to a young minister. And Paul the Apostle, at this point, is in prison. He's actually near the end of his life. He will ultimately be beheaded under Nero within a short time. But he encourages this young minister with these words, and it's a very popular verse. Some of you may be familiar with it. Paul, in chains, tells Timothy that the Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. Now, what's interesting about this is Paul says that God has given us a spirit. Now, in our Bibles, that word spirit can appear with a lowercase s or a capital S. And it's because no one really knows what spirit he's talking about. And what I mean by that is this. If it's a spirit in the sense like God has given your human spirit some assistance, or he's given you a spirit or attitude of power, then he's talking lowercase s spirit, because he's not talking about the Holy Spirit. When it becomes a capital S, then that's the biblical translator's way of telling you this is the Holy Spirit, not just some ordinary spirit. So in one sense, you could interpret this verse to mean God has given us a lowercase s spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. But another way of looking at it is that Paul is saying God has given you a spirit, and this spirit is capital S Holy Spirit. And capital S Holy Spirit is not a spirit that is one of fear or timidity, but rather the Holy Spirit that God has given you is one of power, love, and sound-mindedness. And no matter which way you look at it, it's still a powerful verse because God has given you something that you need. But I like to think of it as a capital S, especially in this time, because as we're in shelter, we're practicing social distance, we're not getting close to each other. God is not bound by those earthly rules. God doesn't practice social distancing. In fact, he gives us himself, his spirit, to indwell in us. The 4th century North African theologian Augustine said that God is nearer or closer to us than we are to ourselves, or he is nearer to us than our innermost parts. And it was Augustine's way of saying that, like, God cannot become any closer to you. He is closer to you than you are to yourself. So no matter what in-shelter rules there are, no matter what social distancing you're practicing, if you're a follower of Jesus, God is closer to you than you can ever imagine. He is near. He is with you. Even if there was no one else in the room, you have God alongside of you. And this God, through his Spirit, has given you three things according to 2 Timothy 1:7. Power, love, and a sound mind. First, power. It's the Greek word dunamis. It's most often used of the power of God and the power of the gospel. And so God has given you a special, unique power that is to be used in service to him. Secondly, he's given us love. The Greek word here is agape. And many of you know, especially if you've been to church all your life, the Greek language the New Testament was written in has a number of words that they use for love, but agape is the most powerful one. It's the strongest one. It's the type of love that I have for my children, and more importantly, it's the type of love that God has for us. So God has given us his agape love. He has given us his dunamis power. And lastly, Paul says he's given us sound-mindedness, or in some translation it says self-control. It's a difficult word to translate, but it's essentially trying to grab this idea that God, through his Spirit, wants his people to have self-control and a sound mind, so that we're not irrational, we're not illogical, we're being reasonable. We should demonstrate reasonableness to the world. And the times we're living, isn't that incredibly important? For Christians to be the most reasonable people, to be the people who exercise self-control and self-discipline. And in doing so, will in turn show the world love. And in doing so, I believe, will show the world the power of the gospel. And so take courage. God has not given you a spirit of fear or timidity, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. And again, just a reminder, we're going to be unveiling a lot of different things in the coming days. So go to svccchurch.com for all that info. Schedule will be posted. Again, hopefully live stream worship times together, Bible reading times together. We're working on a theology night that we could get online with. So a number of things that we'll be doing. So hang in there. We're going to get through this, and we'll talk soon.